in the United States, billions of dollars are being spent, and yet between the two parties, they're deadlocked. Like neither can really like get an edge on the other. They have
just paying a bunch of salaries and lighting money on fire. Yeah.
So I want to play this clip, and this is to me, this is something that like I think could be studied for like multiple hours. Obviously, we won't do that in this show, but this is Steve Rattner, who is like a money manager for Mike Bloomberg. That's how he got his notoriety. And in fact, he was accused of being involved in a bribery scandal related to a pension fund. And so he's one of the people who are the types that you would see perpetuate the system of dark money, of money driving politics, of raising millions of dollars in order to fund politicians and to get rewards, to be rewarded for the funding of those campaigns. So that, I don't know how this happens, but they do this clip on MSNBC. They do this segment on MSNBC's Morning Joe where they actually break down money in politics for this election. And what we're looking at is the record-breaking spending as it has increased. And Steve Rattner is on. It was actually invited on to talk about this topic. This wasn't just something that came up. They actually planned to discuss this. I can't stress how unusual this is because the corporate press does not talk about money in politics.
Democrats don't have a money problem. They may have other problems, but money is not one of them. So this first chart shows you the total amount of spending that's expected in this congressional race. And you can see it goes back to 2000. These numbers are inflation adjusted, so that increase you see is all after inflation. We're expecting something like $9 billion to be spent on these, just on the Senate and congressional races this cycle. And by comparison, we spent $1.7 billion before adjusting for inflation back in 2000. And just to put it in some more context,
okay, so just to make sure people get that number, $9 billion now, $2 billion back in 2000. I think that's what he just said. That's like 4 times.
That's crazy.
That's quadruple. And then he's going to say something here. Rather than just go for the cheap joke, I'll just say, I know what he's talking about. He's saying that like, if you fed all the kids, that you could fund 20 meals. So here.
One Senate race, just in Georgia, there's going to be $250 million spent by both sides. And I think many of us around this table can remember when 10% of that would have been a reasonable amount for a state like Georgia in a Senate race, but $250 million. $250 million could provide something like 20 meals for people who need food. Just to, again, put that in some context of why this is maybe not the best use of our money.
That's unbelievable. So tell me about the Democrats. It surprises me because I've seen articles showing that so many of the massive donors are Republican business people.
And they are, and I'm going to talk about that, but let me show you before we get to those, or let me show you the whole picture. And let me take 4 Senate races that we've all been talking about a lot. And you can see what's going on here. So the blue bars to the left is Democrats, the red bars to the right are Republicans. The darker colors are what we call hard money, the $2,900. Right. That is actually the most valuable money for campaigns because they get discounted television time. And the shaded colors are soft money. These are the billionaires, but also lots of other smaller people.
By the way, it's been a while since I've run. What are the limits now for hard money?
$2,900 for the general.
Per person.
Per person.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Democrats do very well with that, not surprisingly, because they have a lot of small money donors. You can see up in Nevada, the dark blue bar is many times the size of the red bar. But even when you put in the soft money, in Nevada, there's going to be $118 million has been spent by the Democrats to $63 million by the Republicans. So Cortez Masto has outspent Laxalt by almost 2 to 1 and is still looking at what she's looking at. Yeah. In Arizona, it's even more remarkable, $128 million by Mark Kelly compared to $47 million for Blake Masters. So he's got...
that's fascinating because all we've heard is about Peter Thiel and his money to Masters, but actually Democrats, like you said, doing exceptionally well on the money side there.
So actually, yes, Democrats are more of the moneyed class, are doing better in the moneyed class than Republicans.
Well, yeah, that's the takeaway from all of that. I like how he actually made a point, like we could give all this food to people who are hungry in this country, and nobody even stopped to engage with that.
Yeah.
Like as if it was like that didn't mean anything. It is obscene. It's obscene how much money is getting spent on these campaigns to basically just maintain the status quo, because nothing really changed. It just kind of stayed how it was.
Yeah. And the point there where he says Cortez Masto, who very well
Expensive race is Pennsylvania.
hold on, let me go back here. The point he makes about Cortez Masto in Nevada spending more money, but like not really having a lot to show for it. I mean, like she's barely going to scrape by beating the Republican if she wins that Senate race. And so it's just like they're blowing billions of dollars, and yet they don't, like, it's not helping them differentiate or get an edge over any of these Republicans. And you could actually say the same vice versa. It's like Republican mega donors, these well, here, we'll get to the next clip, but they're spending this money. And as far as I can tell, the demographics are actually still continuing to shift against them. And
Right.
it's amazing how they're just blowing up their wealth for this. But it's also what they do. Like, that's in their nature. I mean, one thing that is a cultural staple of right-wing billionaire business activities, I guess, if you, for lack of a better word, is to just constantly pay people money, like millions of dollars, so that they don't have to pay taxes. They'll spend more money on not paying taxes on lawyers, and then the taxes would actually be. The taxes would actually cost less than the money they expend to not pay taxes on their wealth.
Right. It actually, yeah, it's like the irony of it all.
Okay, so here's the other. If I can get this right, this continues here. And
the most expensive race is Pennsylvania, and also the closest on the money race, $151 million for Fetterman, $121 million for Dr. Oz.
So Democrats are Democrats outspending Republicans nationwide this year?
Yeah. I mean, that is the takeaway from all this. Democrats have raised a good bit more money than Republicans.
So forgive me for asking this next question.
I knew it was not going to end.
No, you just got to ask the question.
Yeah.
So have Democrats figured out how to use Citizens United more effectively than Republicans?
Yeah, in part. Yeah, they have. First of all, they do much better in what we can.
Okay, hold on. I just don't want to like roll over that. That's just an incredible thing that Citizens United, for the fact that even if they make that a part of their platform that they're against it, they're taking full advantage. And we know they are. His name's Jaime Harrison. I think he's the chair of the Democratic National Committee. He's presided over a party that shot down the activists, like let's say the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party, that tried to ban dark money from elections. He stopped that from happening.
Damn. Okay. Great. What a guy.
Yeah. We call the hard money. You can see again the dark colored bars, the $2,900 money. Yeah. But yeah, they do quite well.
Okay. They do quite well. All right. I got one more. This is the rest of it.
But to your point about the Democrats figuring out soft money, so you see we have a huge gap on the top 50 mega donors. But when you add all the outside spending, including many smaller, less wealthy people, smaller organizations, there's actually almost no gap. The Democrats have almost as much soft money as the Republicans. But let me also say, this is not the biggest part of the campaign spending. All this stuff adds up to about $1.7 or $1.8 billion out of that $8 billion I was talking about before. And so most of the money that gets raised and spent is hard dollar money, or money by the official committees, or money by small donors, or the official committees, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the Republican one, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty surprising. That's not what you would have guessed.
Not at all.
And let's remember just a few days ago where Ted Cruz questioned what Donald Trump was doing, spending on all his money. Why has he not spent it for the races they need? So, Steve, these numbers are astronomical. what does this portend for 2024? Are we just going to be completely off every possible, even one of your charts would be off that?
We're in an arms race, Jonathan. We're in a ridiculous, stupid arms race where enormous amounts of resources that could be put to much better use. And a lot of it has to do with Citizens United. A lot of it has to do with simply the energy that Steve Kornacki was talking about before. People are engaged, and so that includes opening up their wallets. Fundraising has gotten much more sophisticated. And unless we do something about it, the next race is going to be a good bit more expensive than this race.
So the last chart, I'm a little confused. So overall, who's raised the most money this election cycle, Democrats or Republicans?
Democrats, by a margin. I don't have a chart exactly showing that, but when you add up the pieces that we're talking about, the Democrats have substantially outraised them. So the Democrats have problems. Money is not one of them. And so then you have to say, well, what are the Democrats' problems?
Yeah.
But
He's right. I mean, he is right about that.
Democrats have problems. It's not money. And so let's talk about their problems.
Yeah,
No. So I do want to challenge one thing that he's saying, because he's talking about how like the average person in Pennsylvania, for example, who gave their hard-earned money to John Fetterman to help him beat Dr. Oz, which I think, given how detestable and gross Dr. Oz was, that there's nothing really wrong if you were motivated to give like 50 or $100 of your hard-earned wealth to try and help. And these emails from these candidates, they just keep coming. They're relentless. You get like 4 or 5 in a day if you're on any of these lists. Or if you voted for Bernie Sanders, you end up on these lists. Or if you ever gave money to Bernie Sanders, you end up on these lists and you can't get these campaigns to stop bothering your email address. It's just the way it goes. And but it's important to emphasize that this money that goes to candidates, I don't think it should be discussed in the same way as like, I don't think it should be viewed as like fueling the mess that has been created by Citizens United, because in many ways, the reasons why you are constantly being pestered to give small dollar donations to John Fetterman is because of the dystopia that has been unleashed and that has been co-signed by Democrats.
Right. No, I agree exactly. And I think that actually, are we going to talk about the midterms? Like, are we going to get into it?
Sure, you can say whatever you want. Like, this is a free for all. I'm done with the clip. The clips are we're done with that as like an illustration of something that I find remarkable.
Well, I mean, just to kind of like bring it to those clips, one thing that I found so interesting is that once again, there's 2 states in particular, because obviously Democrats didn't get crushed the way that everybody was predicting they would. And I think there's a lot to say about like Republicans in their failure during the supposed, like what was expected to be a red wave. But I thought Texas and Georgia were interesting because when we talk about Democrats investing a crazy amount of money, like is it the second time that Stacey Abrams has run and failed at governor despite a crazy amount of money and a crazy amount of campaigning? And the same for Beto O'Rourke. So like here you have Democrats literally lighting money on fire to back people who don't win over and over and over again, rather than reflecting on what is going on here.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Unauthorized Disclosure Weekly Podcast. For access to our full episodes, go to thedissenter.org and become a subscriber.